This episode brought to you by tuna pasta. If you do not like tuna, this pasta is not for you, but if you love tuna, then this pasta is definitely for you. If you love white sauce, it is for sure for you, and if you like to throw in some frozen peas, then it is definitely for sure, did I say definitely for you? Try some tuna pasta today, free on you, and if you use the promo code Hannah the Human, then you'll think of Hannah the Human when you make tuna pasta. Because if Hannah can do it, you can do it. Again, that's tuna pasta. Use the promo code Hannah the Human to get it for free, as long as you pay for all the ingredients and spend your own time making it. Tuna pasta.
Let's hit that theme song. Oh, nice. We're going for existential vibes. Hannah the Human. I can get down with it. Get down with it. Get down with it.
It's going to be another late night for me. I'm recording this at 10 p.m., the Thursday before I release this. And I work at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. So I'll probably wake up at 7:30. That gives me enough time to eat my breakfast and get ready. I want to do my makeup because I work lunch and dinner. And I like to look presentable and fancy on Fridays. Or not fancy, but, a little done up, a little nice looking so that people want to buy more alcohol and tip me more, do all the things as a server. Yeah, so all that to say, my plan was to get to bed by 11:30. Yeah, I kind of think I've thrown that out the window. I'm starting to record a podcast past 10 p.m. I just started a load of laundry because I realized I had forgotten to wash my bedding and I need to wash it today. So it is in the washing machine right now. And then I will put it in the dryer. And then, of course, it has to dry before I can go to bed, which is just a great excuse for me to watch a movie once I'm done recording this podcast. And then, it's probably going to be my typical 1 a.m. bedtime. I just naturally find myself going to sleep between midnight and 1 a.m. And then when I'm really cray-cray, it's like 2 in the morning. That's usually after I write a song or something, Don't you find yourself going to bed late because of something? Anyway, I woke up early enough this morning to see the sun finish rising. Hello. I mean, that's not hard to do because it rises at 7:30. Anyway, I woke up at 7:30 and, my alarm went off at 7:30. I got out of bed around 7:40 and then I looked out my window and it was beautiful. And I thought, wow, this is what a sunrise looks like. But this episode is not about sunrises and sunsets. That's for all my Fiddler on the Roof fans. May just be me. I love that musical. You know that. You know that I went up to Michigan to see a live performance done by the homeschool group up there. You know that. I am talking today, though, not about musicals, not about sunrises, not about sunsets, not even about doing your laundry or even staying up late. I am continuing to talk about dating because I'm actually going to talk about dating today. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about how I didn't date. I'm going to actually start to share how I started dating. Well, I've never been in a relationship, but I started going on dates with people. Go me. So let's see. Where did I leave off? We left off in my story of my romantic life. We left off where I began to feel single. That's right. I started to not just like the idea of being in a marriage someday and dating and wouldn't it be nice? I started to feel alone. I mean, it was 2 years past the date when I thought I was going to get married. I was the ripe old age of 20 and I had never gone on a date. And that started to seem like a problem. And I can't remember the details exactly, But I began questioning what I thought about dating and what I thought about romance and what I thought about sexuality. Maybe this fell in line with my questioning about God and everything. Yeah, I think that's what happened. I just started questioning everything, and then started questioning dating. Plus, I was feeling very single, and so I started to look at that area of my life and think, maybe I'm part of the reason why I've never gone on a date. And then I started to uncover a lot of this stuff of that I believed about relationships, that I believed about myself and my body. And I want to use this part of the story to just share what I mean when I use the word sexuality and why I use that term and not just say sex. Because for me, what I started to uncover is, I'd never had sex because I was single. And I was raised with Christian morals where you don't have sex unless you're married with somebody. So thinking about what I believed about sex didn't quite apply to me in my situation. I mean, I had to question, do I really think that I want to abide by the morals I was raised by? Do I actually have the sexual ethic that I say I do, or that others say I should have? But we'll get into that later, or maybe we won't. Basically, staying on point of what I was saying, I use the term sexuality because I feel like that makes it applicable to people who are having sex and people who aren't having sex. Because if you just talk about sex, it makes you think of that act. It makes you think of a specific event, maybe a situation you had with somebody. Whereas when I say sexuality, I mean the sexual side of who we all are. And I like that term because guess what? You can have sexuality without having sex, without being in a relationship, without going on dates. Even though that is the form that your sexuality often is expressed in, you're still a sexual person, even when you're gosh darn single. And you know what? By admitting that you are a sexual creature, person, human being, you immediately have to deal with any shame that you may have around that fact, around sexuality. It's very difficult and inconcrete to see if you have shame around sex when you've never had sex. When you're a 20-year-old Hannah Dota and you're sitting thinking about this, it's hard to know if you have shame around something that you've never done. But you have to think, maybe there's shame because I've never done it. You start to question all these things. And so that's why looking at this fact or belief or truth, whatever, I'm not sure, but I guess it's just what I believe, that we all have a sexual side to us. And when you acknowledge that, you have to clearly look at how that is expressed in your life. And you have to see how you relate with that. And if you have shame, if you have delight, if you have whatever. And so for me, I begin to see that I just stifled that part of me. My way of protecting myself, my way of dealing with all of the stuff I talked about in the previous episode was to just shut off any part of me that may be romantic, sexual, all of that. And I didn't think I did, but I started looking and I realized I did. So once I noticed how shut off I was in that area of my life, I began to just open myself up to the possibility of, let's just say yes. If a guy says, hey, can I go out to coffee? Let's just say yes. I started to see what I could do on my end to really delight in my whole experience of being a human, right? The physical, the emotional, the sexual, the spiritual. That's going to be different for every person. For me, I started knowing that something was happening with me processing all of this, because like magic, I started to notice when guys were into me. The issue was the few guys who I began to notice were into me, I was not into. So then I made it a goal. Okay, now I want to see, can I actually attract guys who I think are attractive? And voila, it started working. I don't even know like what I did. I think maybe just being aware of this, being, giving myself permission to be attractive, trying to be not just a nice person or, oh, pretty or well kept, but actually trying to be attractive. I don't necessarily say trying to be sexual, because I'm not trying to create the vibe when I walk into a room of an R-rated sex scene. I'm not really trying to give off that vibe, but I do want to be appealing. I want to be attractive. I want to catch people's eye. And I have been told by people, well, one person in particular, but, basically there's this concept that you don't want to be that's shallow. And I've had to confront that and say, no, actually, that's a lie, and I don't want to live by that. For me, what I think is actually true is that it's good to be attractive, it's good to be beautiful, it's good to be sexy. So I started dressing in ways that made me feel confident, that made me feel beautiful, that made me feel attractive. I started saying, what can I do to help my hair? And I changed shampoos. I mean, it's really practical, folks. I started trying to learn a little bit more about makeup. I found earrings that I liked and wore them. I celebrated physical aspects of myself that I really liked, like my big butt. I don't have boobs, so I emphasize the other part. I started noticing, what was I confident about? What did people give me compliments about? They complimented my eyes. So when my skin was breaking out and I had acne, I would remind myself, I have beautiful blue eyes. My face is beautiful. I also tried to take steps to get rid of my acne. And now I don't have barely any pimples at all. So whoop-de-whoop. All thanks to coconut oil and carrots and apple cider vinegar, I do have to say. I mean, I do wash my face, and I found face products that are minimal and clean but do the job for me. And it took a lot of time and effort, experimenting and over months and months and months. And I finally found a skin regime that I like, that isn't too complicated but gets the job done. And I started eating a raw carrot with coconut oil, about a teaspoon of coconut oil, and about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and some water. I do that about every morning. And I noticed a significant decrease in the amount of pimples that I have, because actually the carrot fiber helps cleanse your colon, and the coconut oil attaches to that fiber and makes it to your small intestines, where it gets rid of bacteria, because coconut oil is antibacterial and your body loves it, and your body absorbs it before it gets to your intestines, usually, because it loves it so much. But if it attaches to the fiber in the carrot, it'll make it to your intestines. And long story short, it helps just regulate your gut bacteria. And carrots also have a lot of vitamin A, which helps regulate your hormones. So yada, yada, yada. Anyway, back to me being beautiful at 20, 21, whatever, when the shift started happening. I started changing what I wore. I changed how I did my hair. I really confronted the belief that I had and the thought that I had that I just was plain and the weird homeschooler, and I couldn't stand up against how other people looked. I realize I still think this a lot, like I go out with my coworkers and friends and stuff, and I look at them and I think, wow, yeah, they look sexy and cool and beautiful, but I'm just me, I'm not quite beautiful. I got a pimple here. My face gets red. I could be skinnier. I could be whatever. My hair isn't like theirs, but I don't want to do Botox, and I'm actually don't want to change what I do with my hair. I actually like how I live, and when I think about it, I'm actually confident, and I like how I look, and I do feel confident, but a lot of times those insecurities and thoughts creep in. It's like I'm transported back to being the 14-year-old in the semi-ugly skirt and the t-shirt and the frizzy hair, and I'm that different person, you know? I'm that girl who shows up around public schoolers and I don't wear anything that they're wearing, and they somehow know how to do makeup at 15 years old and look hot, and I'm skinny and insecure. And so I still have those moments where that pops up, but I begin to be aware of those thoughts I had and realize I don't want to think that about myself all the time. And I started to, I remember looking around at different styles and noticing what hairstyles that I liked on people that seemed easy to do, and that other girls I would notice, wow, that looks really nice on them. And so then I started trying to do that, like the slick back, when my hair would get oily, after I hadn't washed it in like 3 or 4 days. Then I started brushing it and parting it in the middle and slicking it back and making a tight bun or a ponytail or something. And I remember I got a compliment from somebody, one girl who I was kind of mimicking that after, and she was like, wow, I love how your hair looks. And it just filled me with so much joy. And yeah, so I began to be a bit more confident. I began to be proud of how I looked. And then there was this guy at church who played on the worship team, and he started talking to me. He was like new or whatever. It was just this cool experience of, wow, a guy that actually looks nice, that's actually fun to talk to, not an awkward guy or a weird guy or something that's hitting on me. It's this guy that I actually want to get to know is wanting to get to know me. And I wasn't sure if he wanted just friendship or what, but he was like, hey, let's get a coffee. And I'm also really blind and oblivious to when guys are into me. So I just thought, oh, he wants to just talk about music because we're both on the worship team and we play music. Well, turns out he was a little bit more interested than just music. And I was interested to get to know him as well. And so that was fun. We went out on a few lunch dates and stuff and hung out. And we ended up deciding we were just going in different paths in life. So it didn't really work to get to know each other more. But that was a key memory I have, like a turning point where I realized, oh my gosh, I've succeeded in reaching my goal. I have attracted a guy who I actually want to attract. And that was super cool to realize that I was becoming somebody who was beautiful, not just in my soul, but in my body. And that's a great realization. There's so much talk about, oh, don't just focus on your external beauty. It's about your inward beauty. And I'd heard so many sermons and all of that I just needed the other one. I needed to focus on, hey, it's actually good to be confident in how you look. It's good to be proud of your physical body. It's good to be, like I said earlier, attractive. So that was a cool moment. I remember there was this other guy. Yeah, there was this other guy who, I forget how I met him. I think it was through some kind of church group or something. And he asked me out to coffee, and I didn't really feel any feelings or want to get to know him more, but I was in the mode of just saying yes. And then there's this other guy who I really was like, I rate guys on a scale of how drunk would I have to be if we were the only two people and we had to repopulate the earth. How drunk would I have to be in order to have sex with him? I imagine that we're on a desert island. It's just us two. And I basically kind of rate guys in my mind of, oh, wow, you're hot. And then there's very few that I think that about. And then there's a category of guys who I'm like, oh, you look nice. Like, I would totally get to know you. And depending on your character, yeah, I would totally be attracted probably to you if I got to know you more. And then there's a category of guys where it's like, not in a million years you would have to get me blackout drunk in order to repopulate the earth. I like to go those extremes. Well, this guy was part of that category, but I still said yes. I went to coffee and then very nicely told him, yeah, I don't see this going anywhere. But I was just in the mode of say yes, yes, yes. And that was back out in California when I still lived in Vacaville. And then I hopped on my RV, like I've told you in podcasts before, and I drove out to Tennessee. And then that was fun because that introduced me to a whole different scene of people. Because as I'm doing this journey of becoming more confident and trying to be more attractive and open to the idea of dating and being desirable to people, I also am thinking about what I believe about faith and all this stuff. And I'm trying to really think like, what kind of guy do I actually want? Do I actually want to marry a Christian? Because am I even Christian? So I'm just going through that. Then I'm out in Tennessee, and it was super fun because I got introduced to a whole different scene of people, the bar scene. Oh, I just can hear the people who have told me, don't go to bars. But you know what? Bars are actually fun. I mean, not all bars that I've been to are fun. I don't like creepy, weird people. So if there's that vibe at a bar, then I do not like it. But I loved this one bar in Tennessee where I was staying with my grandparents. It's a dancing bar. So they had a dance floor in the middle. They got darts. They would play country music. There would be line dances and then partner dancing. And it was just so fun. So I started being open to the idea of, being a cute girly at the bar and getting some guys to buy me some drinks. A bar in Nashville where I played a songwriting round. The first time I'd ever played in a bar. I think the first time I was ever in a bar. That's when I kissed somebody for the first time. He was pretty drunk, but he was very nice. We were just sitting, talking over a drink after almost everybody had left. There was like this group of girls that I was chatting with earlier because they really liked my music. And so we were hanging out. And some of them were ex-Mormons, and I was just very curious about that. So they were telling me about that. So there was that group of people, and then this guy, and I was talking to him. And, I have a drink or two in me. And I just noticed how I just felt this desire to I just want to kiss him. And, I was in my season of say yes because we had said enough no's. And so I leaned in and gave him a kiss and was like, wow, this isn't magical at all. Yeah. So I didn't feel let down, but I also was like, that was definitely not as wonderful as my little body was expecting it to be for how much it was just so excited to kiss him. It just was like, I was very aware of, it's just lips on lips. This is pretty boring, honestly. I also was just shocked. Wow. The first time I kiss a guy is somebody that I am never going to see again. Of course, he did the whole, can I have your number? But he's so drunk. And I was like, sure. Gave him my number. Never heard from him. I'm sure I've deleted that number. I don't know that I actually saved it or whatever. I can't even remember his name. And that just cracks me up. It cracks me up that I had waited so long and not kissed anybody. And that's who I kissed. It's just so funny to me because as a teenager, I had heard all this talk of we didn't kiss until the altar. And you're the first person I kissed, this fiance of mine. And I thought, wow, that's so wonderful. I'm, the first kiss I have is going to be meaningful. It's going to be with somebody I love. Joke's on you, Hannah. But I really am not mad. It was fine. You got to start somewhere. Where better than a bar, right? I remember calling my mom, though, shortly after that and talking about, I kissed a guy. And she just was like, well, did you like it? I was like, I guess, kind of. And that was that. And that's why my mom's super cool. So there I am in Nashville area in Tennessee. Then at another bar that I go and play for open mic. They loved me, of course. I brought down the house. They kept asking me to play more songs, per usual. They just couldn't have enough of this voice. Then I go to the bar, and grab a going to grab a drink or something, and there's this guy sitting there, and then we start talking, and then he buys me a beer. We end up going out for a couple weeks, like he was actually a guy that we connected on quite a bit of different stuff. And when I gave him my number, he actually texted back, and we, went out. And yeah, so that was the first time that I kind of like went on dates with somebody. And I continued down my very scientific method of figuring out what my physical boundaries were, what I wanted in a guy, by just trying stuff. I didn't do anything that I regretted or whatever, because I was just very aware of what feels comfortable for me. Like with that guy in the bar, I paused for a moment, before I leaned in to kiss him, and I was just present in my body. I was like, would this violate anything? Do I actually want this? I know that people can look at my life and say, whoa, she's just got to learn by experience and she's just led by emotion. But for me, my experience is I was leading from a place of trusting the process, paying attention to where shame popped up, and trying to discern between shame and actual wisdom, actual warning that my mind, body, and emotions were giving me. And I was very committed to not listening to the voice of fear, but at the same time, I did want to pay attention to if things felt uncomfortable, if I didn't want something, then I could be confident in that. And that's what ended up happening with this guy that I went out with for a couple weeks. We'd go on dates and have a nice time, and I just was trying to figure out, like, okay, he's nice, I'm connecting, he's in that category of, wow, no, he actually doesn't look bad. Like, if I get to know him, I could definitely develop attraction. But I just was not feeling that attraction. Like, he seemed so wanting to see me, and I just was not getting a crush on him. Maybe it takes longer than 2 weeks, but I don't know. I was just experiencing life and experimenting by living. I realized that I didn't like my experience of going out with this guy. I felt like he wanted something that I didn't want. And even after kissing him and whatever, I wasn't feeling attracted. And I realized that, did I really want to kiss him, or was I just curious about how it would feel when I kissed him? And I realized I was more just curious. It wasn't that I actually wanted to. And so I very confidently told him, yeah, I don't see this going anymore. I remember I was sitting in his car when he was dropping me off at my grandparents' house after we went on a date, and I just said, no. And that was that. So learned a lot about myself from that. I learned that I can want what I want, that it matters if I like a guy or not. I don't just need to say, well, he's a decent human being, I guess I should keep going on dates with him and he likes me. I realized I had been so focused on getting guys who I thought were actually decent guys and decent looking to like me, that I had totally forgotten a big key of it, that I need to like the guy, that I need to be attracted. And so that was what I learned from that experience, that my attraction matters, because I had attracted guys who were good and good looking, and I would be proud to say, look at this guy likes me, we're dating. And so my next goal in my mind was to have a guy like me that I actually liked, which is easier said than done, easier imagined than completed. It really, my current experience is, I am so incapable at making that happen, that it is just a magic that seems to happen to so many people. So many people aren't single, and it has magically eluded me. So that's why I think that it's magical when people find somebody and that person likes them and they both have feelings, because I've gone 24 years and I've never experienced a two-way street. I got really close with a couple different experiences I had. One of them was with a guy that we talked a lot. We got along really well. It felt like friends to me, but I also was excited to talk to him. I liked that he liked me, but he would make all the kind of flirtatious remarks. And for me, there wasn't that experience on the other end, but I was like, in a way, I'm crushing on him. Like, I'm not feeling physically super attracted, but I also really want to talk to this guy. I want to get to know him. He looks cute. He's a wonderful man of character. And so we talked, and I just was enjoying it so much. I would so look forward to his text. We would talk for hours. I would feel some butterflies when I was talking to him sometimes. But, and so that's why then we went on a date, because we were long distance. But then I was taking a trip, staying in the city that he lived in. And so we went out on a date. And I was totally like ready and expectant to just feel all the butterflies, to feel like I did with the crushes I had when I was a teenager. And it didn't click. And I was so disappointed. I felt like my body was betraying me. Like, come on, body, why couldn't you get in line with how awesome this guy is, how well we connect? Like, I could see myself having a family with this guy. I didn't know him super duper well, but we had talked for a month or two. We had got to know each other. We had shared some things, and he had always been safe and just, he checked it, all the boxes, but he felt like a friend. And I remember he was looking at me and like he wanted to kiss me and all that, you could just tell, like. And I just wanted to play guitar with him and jam out and be friends. And I was aware in that moment, gosh darn it, I really thought that I would like this guy just like he liked me. But no, didn't happen. And that was disappointing, because I really did see potential between me and him, and he really liked me. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just got to give it more time. But there was also a knowing inside of me that just knew, if it hasn't clicked yet, it's not going to click. And so we both mutually decided, like, hey, if the chemistry isn't there, then it isn't there. And peacefully ended getting to know each other more. And I cried for a couple days. And then I felt better. And I knew I had made the right decision. Of course, I second guessed it, when I'm lonely and months have passed by and I feel deserted and I'm wondering about the meaning of life. And of course, I thought maybe I should have tried harder. Maybe something could have been there. Maybe I missed the only man who would work for me. But I trust that I'm being guided in all this. And I remember praying before I went on a date with that guy. I remember praying, God, I really see a ton of green flags. And if you don't see me and him being beneficial to each other's futures, then just make me not want to get to know him anymore. And it was tough, but I think that's what happened. And there was this other guy who I did not have to try. And my God, did I crush on this dude. And this experience, what was so relieving about me liking this guy is because I thought maybe my ability to like people is just broken. Maybe I don't crush anymore. Maybe that was a teenage thing. Maybe I just need to find a decent guy, Maybe I just should have kept getting to know that guy that I didn't feel the same attraction he did for me. But then I thought, no, I do want that in life. And then this guy, I did not have to try. And I would just hardcore crush on him. Like butterflies and everything. And I noticed like I wanted to be close to him and I wanted to hang out with him. And I realized, oh my goodness, I am interacting with him the way that that guy that we got to know and then we didn't go further because I didn't feel the chemistry. I was relating to this guy the way that guy related to me. And I suddenly realized, oh good, I can crush on people. The issue was, yeah, you guessed it. He didn't feel that way about me. We did hang out a few times and I was very open about how I felt because in the past I had thought that guys had to initiate everything. But this time with this experience, what I was trying to learn and experiment with was, what if I initiate? What if I give myself permission to go after somebody because I have a crush on them? And it was a really positive experience. And it was also really rough because, my gosh, it was just dramatic. You know, I'd be on a high when he'd text, and then he was very bad at communication. There were many, I say red flags, but it's not like, oh, he's a terrible person. It's just, he very clearly it was not going to work. He wasn't good at relationships. He took forever to decide if he liked me or not, you know, and I just kept waiting and staying in it. And I never pressured him or anything. But the fact that like the man couldn't make up his freaking mind, the fact that he couldn't say, let me think about it and then get back to me in a couple days. Yeah, that's an issue. So I'm very glad that it didn't work out between us. And I also realized why it didn't. Looking back, I realized, wow, I am being guided. I am being protected. And at the same time, I often think, why did I go after that? You know, was that a waste of time? Because I spent quite a few months like obsessing about this guy. First off, it's not a waste because I literally have an album's worth amount of songs related to me and this crush. And it's beautiful. No, but seriously, I mean, that is serious. But another reason why it was beneficial is because I learned so much. I learned what I want in the way a guy relates to me. I learned that not only do I want the guy to be a decent guy and look nice and have, you know, a good soul and be a decent human being, but I also have requirements for how he relates in relationships. I want somebody who texts back. I want somebody who is proactive at communication. I want somebody who can process what he thinks, who can be equally initiative. I don't think I necessarily have to sit and wait for the guy to do everything. But at the same time, it made me realize, no, I like when a guy takes initiative. I want him to be wanting to go out on a date with me. And it was wonderful, me wanting to go out on a date with him and me being super attracted. I love that feeling. It's like, man, if I could have that feeling with a guy who takes initiative and wants me that way, man, that would be magical. And just thinking about that. I mean, when I actually find somebody and when that person finds me and we both like each other and we both mesh, fireworks. I mean, I can just tell. I'm a spicy romantic girl. We're going to have incredible dates. The tension is going to be real. Woo. Yeah. Nothing broken about my ability to have chemistry over here. If I've experienced so much awesome butterflies and stuff when it's just one way, I cannot imagine what it would be like to be two ways. And thinking back when guys liked me, but I didn't like them, but they were cool and they initiated and they were sweet and good, imagining, wow, if I felt back to them what they felt to me, wow. Oh my gosh, that's what I want in life. That is what I want. I want a guy who is confident, who knows what he wants, who has good character, who communicates, who cares about building a relationship, not just getting his desires fulfilled, not just feeling not alone. I want somebody who actually is going to be a good husband, is going to be a good father, is a good human being. And I've had to discover what I really want by trying all these different experiences. And so even though I've never been in a relationship, so in a way I'm like, I've never dated, I have. I have gone on dates. I have put myself out there. And that is what taught me stuff. And I'm so glad that I didn't keep buying into the idea that I just have to sit on my hands and focus on staying pure above all costs. I'm glad that I got out there and I put my heart on my sleeve and I stayed in touch with my emotions and my body and my mind and stayed in touch to be aware, what do I actually value? And I'm so glad I've never done anything that I felt I've never done anything that I super ultra regret. No, I don't regret any of it because I came from a place of love for myself. I wasn't trying to get guys' attention to fulfill a void in my soul. I wasn't acting out of shame around my body and needing validation by dating. I was out to play the game. I was out to discover things. I was curious. I was full of wonder. It didn't let me down. Even when I said, oh, I'm going to end it with this guy or this guy or this guy or this guy, or when the guy would be like, I'm going to end it with you. No regrets for all the experiences and all the trying. And so that would be my encouragement, to everybody. You got to get out there. You got to just go for it. If something's calling you, go. And I'm so grateful that I learned about some tools with relationships and emotional health and got some awareness of how to be aware of how I felt about things and learned some ways to process and journal. And because if I hadn't had those, I could definitely see me just being out there, going out on dates to try to fill something within me and not being aware that I'm doing that. And I could just see, I'm just so grateful that I made it a huge priority to be aware of what I was experiencing, to be self-aware, to be curious about what was going on with the guy that I'm talking to or dating or whatever, just like I'm curious with what's going on with me, to create a safe space, to encourage communication. I'm really proud of myself for that because I know a lot of people who, I don't know a lot of people, but I know people who have dated and been with guys that aren't great and it's caused consequences in their life. I mean, we all know people who they're just, why am I with this dumb guy? And they stick with it, or they, then they have a kid and they have a kid with this other person and then, they get hurt. And then it's just this cycle and this mess that you can get sucked into. And I'm grateful that, life is messy, but I've been really blessed to be able to get my hands dirty with life, but also be safe while doing it, I feel like I'm a kid who gets to play in a playground, I'm not a toddler out in the middle of the woods, narrowly escaping death from vicious wolves and bears. No, I'm a kid digging in the dirt in a playground with my parents nearby watching. That's been my experience. And others have looked on at my life and people are scared. I've got comments from certain people who aren't experiential people. They're people who want to analyze life and then live by what they analyzed. And they get concerned. Oh, careful. Oh, don't try that. Don't go to the bars. Oh, don't date. Don't wear that. You're going to make the wrong type of guys want you. And that's just a bunch of BS, in my opinion. With all the love, that's BS. Because that is giving a throne to fear. That is saying, what can rule my life? Fear. There's a difference between wisdom and fear. Fear hides. Fear is afraid. Fear is insecure. Fear worries. Wisdom ponders. Wisdom is aware. when there's warning signs. Wisdom is aware of discomfort and responds accordingly. Fear hides. Fear shrivels and shrinks. Wisdom causes growth. Wisdom steps out, believing that who it is will champion any messes that may come. And so my current perspective, at the very wise age of 24, when I look back over the last few years of my life, is that I have acted in wisdom and not fear. Talk to me in 20 years and see if that's my same opinion. I think it will be. The late hour of the night is definitely getting to my brain. I definitely want to share with you all where I'm at currently as I am relating to dating and getting to know people, because even though this seems like I caught up to the current moment, we haven't. There's a more. So next week we will continue and probably conclude the series Single Woman. Of course, I can't end this thing without sharing a little tidbit of creativity. So I shall read to you a poem. The poem is called Try Not No Longer. Fall in love. Spend your money. Eat the food. Embrace the freedom of inviting the fallible to be your friend. Know your limits by going there and falling if need be. Love feeling wild. Invite feeling loved. If there's nothing you can mess up too much, then maybe you aren't a mistake. Maybe the letting go will be the bringing forth. Try not no longer. Be blessed and tuna pasta. Peace out.